Good morning. As the sun rises over the city and the world wakes up, we're greeted by headlines that could reshape the global economy. Today isn't just another day. This is a turning point, and everyone from Wall Street to Main Street is paying attention. Today we're waking up to major news. The US-China trade war is back, and it's bigger than ever. After months of tense negotiations and uneasy truces, the world's two largest economies are once again locked in a high-stakes standoff. The ripple effects are already being felt across global markets, and the stakes couldn't be higher. President Trump just announced a massive new tariff, an extra 100% tax on all Chinese imports, on top of the existing 30%. This isn't just a minor policy tweak, it's a dramatic escalation that's sending shockwaves through boardrooms and trading floors around the world. That's a total tariff of 130%. For every dollar of Chinese goods, U.S. companies now pay $1.30 in taxes. This means everything from electronics to clothing, machinery to toys, could see prices soar. American businesses are scrambling to recalculate costs, and consumers are bracing for higher bills at the checkout. This is one of the most aggressive trade moves in modern history. Investors are on edge, watching as stock markets react with wild swings. Economists warn that this could trigger a chain reaction, affecting jobs, investments, and even the stability of entire industries. Why now? China just imposed strict controls on rare earth minerals, materials crucial for smartphones, electric cars, and military tech. These minerals are the backbone of modern technology, and China controls the vast majority of their global supply. By tightening exports, China is flexing its economic muscle, putting pressure on American manufacturers and tech companies. The U.S. sees this as economic blackmail and is hitting back hard. Officials are calling China's move a direct threat to national security and economic independence. The message from Washington is clear. The U.S. won't back down, and it's ready to fight fire with fire. We're witnessing a classic tit-for-tat escalation. China restricts exports, the U.S. raises tariffs. Each side is trying to outmaneuver the other, using economic leverage as their weapon of choice. It's a high-stakes chess game, and the next moves are anyone's guess. This is the very definition of a trade war, fought with economic weapons, not armies. Instead of soldiers, we have CEOs and policymakers. Instead of battlefields, we have boardrooms and trading floors. The consequences, however, could be just as far-reaching. The last truce is over. Both sides are digging in for a long, costly battle. Negotiators are back at the table, but trust is at an all-time low. Every hour that passes without a deal increases the risk of deeper economic pain for both countries, and for the world. The global economy is bracing for impact. From Tokyo to London, investors are watching nervously, wondering how far this conflict will go. Supply chains are being disrupted, currencies are fluctuating, and the threat of a global recession looms larger than ever. What does this mean for you? Higher prices, economic uncertainty, and a new chapter in US-China rivalry. Everyday items could become more expensive, jobs could be at risk, and the economic landscape may be changed for years to come. Whether you're a business owner, a worker, or a consumer, the effects of this trade war will be felt in ways big and small. Stay tuned as we break down what's at stake, explain how we got here, and look ahead to what might happen next in this unfolding economic showdown. Let's break down tariffs. A tariff is a tax on goods brought into a country from abroad. The goal? Make foreign products more expensive, so people buy more American-made goods. With a 130% tariff, a $100 smartphone from China now costs $230 to import. Companies can't just absorb that, they'll pass the cost to you, the consumer. That's why tariffs often mean higher prices on everything from electronics to clothes. In this trade war, tariffs are a weapon to pressure China, but American shoppers will feel the pain. The spark for this escalation? China's new export controls on rare earth minerals. These 17 elements are essential for tech, energy, and defense. Think electric cars, smartphones, and fighter jets. China dominates the mining and processing of rare earths, making the world dependent on its supply. By restricting exports, China is squeezing global industries and hitting a U.S. vulnerability. The U.S. sees this as a direct threat to national security and economic stability. That's why the White House responded with a massive tariff hike. It's economic warfare, rare earths versus the American consumer market. This didn't happen overnight. The story of the US-China trade war is a saga years in the making, shaped by shifting alliances, economic ambitions, and a constant tug-of-war for global influence. Each chapter has been marked by moments of hope, followed by setbacks and renewed suspicion. Earlier this year, the US and China agreed to a truce. Tariffs dropped, tensions eased, and for a brief moment, it seemed like the world's two largest economies might find common ground. Markets rallied, and businesses on both sides dared to hope for stability. But the peace was fragile. Beneath the surface, old wounds and new anxieties lingered. Diplomats smiled for the cameras, but behind closed doors, mistrust simmered. Disputes over rare earths and tech exports simmered beneath the surface. These resources are the backbone of modern technology, and both nations knew their value. The US blocked advanced AI chips to China, aiming to slow its technological rise. In response, China kept its grip on rare earths, materials essential for everything from smartphones to fighter jets. Mistrust grew, and smaller retaliations signaled trouble. Each new restriction, each new tariff, was a warning shot, reminding the world that the rivalry was far from over. The truce was just a pause, not a solution. It was a temporary ceasefire in a much larger contest, a moment to catch breath before the next move. When China tightened rare earth exports, the US fired back with tariffs. Each side watched the other, waiting for the next escalation. The cycle of escalation is back, and the stakes are higher than ever. Every new measure ripples through global supply chains, affecting industries and consumers worldwide. The underlying conflict, over tech, security, and economic power, was never resolved. Both nations see the future at stake, and neither is willing to back down. Now, the fragile structure has collapsed. The agreements that once held things together have crumbled under the weight of suspicion and ambition. The trade war is back in full force. As tariffs rise and tempers flare, the world watches, wondering how far this new escalation will go and what it means for the future of global trade. Here's how the new tariffs roll out. The US government is taking a bold step, shaking up the global trade landscape in a way we haven't seen in decades. These measures are designed to send a clear message, not just to China, but to the entire world. The rules of international commerce are changing, and fast. Starting November 1st, every product from China, electronics, clothes, furniture, faces a 130% tariff. That means everything from smartphones and laptops to shoes and sofas will suddenly become dramatically more expensive for American importers, and ultimately, for consumers. A $1,000 import now costs $2,300. For small businesses and large corporations alike, this is a staggering increase. Many will be forced to rethink their entire sourcing strategies, renegotiate contracts, or even consider moving production to other countries. That's a shock to every supply chain. Warehouses may sit empty, assembly lines could grind to a halt, and retailers might scramble to find alternatives. The ripple effects will be felt from the factory floor all the way to the checkout counter. The Trump administration is also imposing new export controls on critical software to China. This means American tech firms will face strict new rules about what they can sell, especially when it comes to advanced software and sensitive technology. Both measures could take effect even sooner if China retaliates. The threat of escalation is real, and every day brings new uncertainty for companies on both sides of the Pacific. This two-pronged strategy, taxing imports and blocking tech exports, aims to maximize pressure on Beijing. It's a calculated move, targeting both China's manufacturing might and its ambitions in high-tech industries. For businesses, the uncertainty is brutal. Executives are holding emergency meetings, analysts are revising forecasts, and everyone is bracing for volatility in the months ahead. They're watching every headline, unsure when the rules might change again. The pace of developments is dizzying, and no one wants to be caught off guard by the next announcement. The message to China: escalate, and the US will hit back even harder. This is a high-stakes standoff, with both sides watching each other's moves and preparing countermoves. For American companies, it's a race to adapt or face huge new costs. The clock is ticking, and every delay could mean millions lost or gained. The global supply chain is on edge. From shipping companies to truck drivers, everyone is waiting to see how these new rules will reshape the flow of goods around the world. The economic fallout will be swift. Prices could rise, markets may tumble, and consumers everywhere will feel the impact of this new era in US-China trade. Wall Street hates surprises, and this was a big one. U.S. stock markets plunged. The Dow dropped nearly 2%, the nasdaq over 3.5%. Billions in value vanished in hours as investors feared higher costs and shrinking profits. Companies relying on Chinese manufacturing or sales to China took the biggest hits. President Trump defended the tariffs as necessary, blaming China for the escalation. Chinese state media condemned the move as reckless and vowed to defend their interests. The rhetoric is fierce on both sides, neither is backing down. Global markets are rattled, and world leaders are watching nervously. The standoff is now a global concern, not just a US-China issue. The world is bracing for more turbulence. What does this mean for you? Expect higher prices on electronics, clothes, and furniture, anything made in China. Companies like Walmart and Amazon will pass on the extra costs. Some American jobs could return, but many businesses will struggle with higher expenses and disrupted supply chains. Farmers and exporters may face Chinese retaliation, risking job losses in other sectors. Some products might disappear from shelves until companies find new suppliers. Consumer choice will shrink, and economic uncertainty will grow. The disruption will create winners and losers across the country. The economic fallout is huge, but the diplomatic freeze is just as serious. A planned summit between President Trump and President Xi is now in jeopardy. Trump has threatened to cancel, saying there's no point in meeting after China's rare earth move. With talks off, both sides are communicating through threats and public statements. The risk of miscalculation rises when leaders aren't talking. Accusations of economic bullying and vows to retaliate are flying. The diplomatic doors are slamming shut, making compromise even harder. The world is left hoping for a breakthrough that seems increasingly unlikely. As of October 10, 2025, the future of U.S.-China trade is more uncertain than ever. China is likely to retaliate, more tariffs, new restrictions, or creative penalties. Meanwhile, a Supreme Court case could decide if the president can impose these tariffs at all. American businesses are lobbying hard, some for and some against the tariffs. The political battle at home is heating up. The best-case scenario? Both sides step back and negotiate, but that looks unlikely. More likely, escalating conflict, higher prices, and a slower global economy. The world is entering a period of instability. The consequences will be felt for months, maybe years. We're all along for the ride, so stay informed.